Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Comic Books NYC. I'm back here with another contest entry / community support video for Regie Simmons, aka Regie Collects. If you don't follow Regie on either YouTube or Instagram, I suggest you get on that because Regie is a cut above. Honestly, he's one of the nicest guys and one of the most entertaining guys, I would say, to watch in the YouTube comic book community. And he's been very supportive of me starting a channel, and I want to thank him for that. Congratulate him also on passing 1,000 subscribers. You can find him on YouTube and under Regie Simmons IFBB Pro. I think you can just search also Regie Collects and find him, Regie with 1G. And he's also Regie Collects on Instagram, Regie with 1G. So I will include a link to his contest announcement and his shorter summary video that recaps what the contest is all about. But I'll attempt to describe it here real quickly. Essentially, his contest is called, or his call to action for the contest is for you to make a video about why you collect. It's open to people worldwide, so long as you have an email address that you can accept money through PayPal with. So first prize is $100, second prize is $75, third prize is $50, and fourth prize is $25. And there may be other surprises along the way if there's enough participation. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure, but he did tease something about that on one of the videos. So again, I'll include a link to that in the description in case you want to make a video of your own, anyone watching this. But now I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. So throughout this video, I may pop some things up on the screen there for show. Some might be related to what I'm talking about. Others might just be random. I want to keep the background interesting while I sort of walk through this. So, all right, so let's get to it. So why do I collect, right? So when I was first thinking about this question, my mind sort of gravitated more towards, why I like comic books and why I read comic books, and there's several reasons for that, everything from just loving the artwork and appreciating the artwork independent of the stories, to liking the stories and appreciating the creativity and thought that goes into the story part of the process as well, and just sort of the balance between the art and stories, and just it's such a unique medium with the different sides of the equation from on the art side and on the story side, that it's always been intriguing. But and then there are other reasons why I really like reading comic books, or I'm into comic books, like like characters I'm very, very much passionate about. I've loved Spider-Man and Batman ever since I was watching the animated shows in the 90s as a kid. So there are things like that led me to liking comic books and reading comic books. But going back to the actual question, which is why do I collect, right? Which is not necessarily why do I read or why am I into comic books, but it's why do I collect. If you want to answer the question a different way, that's totally valid. That's totally up to you. But I'm kind of choosing to go down the path of why do I specifically collect. And I had to think about that for a few days because I couldn't quite put my finger on exactly what the answer was. But after some serious thought, the only way I can really, really accurately summarize why it is that I collect is because it keeps me grounded. Collecting keeps me grounded. So that's my sentence, that's my phrase, that's my ethos about collecting, is collecting keeps me grounded. So I'm going to dive in a little bit more about what what that means. So Back before I was ever into, quote unquote, the arts, right? Whether it's music or, fiction writing, comic books, movies and TV as a, visual art form, creative art forms. Sports was basically my sort of first love as a kid, most specifically basketball, but I was pretty much into all the sports when I was a kid. And the first thing I kind of collected ever, really, which was a direct sort of correlation to that, which was basketball cards, baseball cards, football, hockey, whatever sport I could come across. Honestly, if there were trading cards available, I was collecting it. And this was, maybe, when I was 10 years old or potentially even younger, to my earlier teenage years, where I would be collecting this stuff. So just a few examples here. So I pretty much had an obsession with Michael Jordan. As you can see, this is still kind of in the bag here, but there's one example, and then here's another example with an actual sports card and like a holder there. So I had a pretty deep obsession with Michael Jordan, and I would collect as much Michael Jordan as I possibly could back in the day. I still have a binder full of Michael Jordan cards and other popular basketball players from the the early to late 90s. Was kind of my pocket there for collecting this kind of stuff. So and really the love of the sports and my interest in the sports was what was the initial spark. But I think what made it really, really, really sort of a passion for me was the hunt, right? There were kids in the neighborhood that would be selling cards kind of like out of their garages, and I would either walk or ride my bike over to these guys after school, shoot the shit a little bit, and I would pick up some cards. And then there were also local shops, that had comics and cards and video games and all sorts of stuff that, kids were into back in the day in the 90s and still are. I'd be hunting for cards at those kind of places, whether it's a strip mall somewhere or like a big mall, or what have you, right? And it just, as a kid, it gave me sort of a social outlet, if you will, because I've always been kind of socially awkward, I guess, especially when I was younger. I mean, I am even still today, honestly, but back then, I think it really, really helped me sort of connect with other kids that had a similar interest. So fast forward to sort of why I collect today and how it keeps me grounded is that it all still leads back to the hunt, right? So I work a very, very demanding career that I feel very passionate about. I'm a single dude. I don't really have a family to keep me grounded. Obviously I do have a family, but I'm not living with a family. So, I do a lot of things solo, and collecting comics keeps me grounded. It keeps me connected to something. It keeps me constantly thinking about something. It keeps me looking forward to something. It keeps me, it keeps me just interested in something outside of my career, and I'm going to start showing some books. So obviously here we got some Spider-Man. This is the last Steve Ditko on Spider-Man. So the act of going to my local comic shops, the going to Comic Cons, which is something I've already made videos about, the YouTube community, the Instagram community, which both are relatively new for me, but only in a few months' time I've just found so much value in putting myself out there on both platforms, and sharing my love of this hobby and of this art with the community, right? So that's another thing that keeps me grounded. Like, honest to God, it really makes me feel less lonely, to be able to share with people who have similar interests. So, I think that's the clearest way that I could communicate. The reason why I collect is that collecting keeps me grounded, and it keeps me energized and excited about something outside of my career, which, I've always been a workaholic, which, has paid its dividends, and it's the reason why I can get the books that I get and keep this passion and hobby part of my world, and also allows me to go on adventures like Comic Cons and stuff, and be able to spend that money and take that experience as part of my vacation time and things like that. So I don't want to make this video insanely long, but I did want to sort of backtrack from the question a little bit of why do I collect, and maybe get into some other things about about collecting. When I think about a question like why, it always leads me back to who, what, when, where, how, and why, right? Like all the questions that matter, right? So if I were to extend this question from just why do I collect to who do I collect, what do I collect, when do I collect, where do I collect, and how do I collect, that's going to be the rest of this video. So let's start off with who do I collect. So if you've watched any of my videos, you probably know that first and foremost, I collect Spider-Man. So Spider-Man's my favorite character, and I probably have more Spider-Man books than any other type of book in my collection. I'm also very much into Batman, which would be my favorite DC character. So there you have the Killing Joke. So that kind of is a quick overview of who do I collect. What do I collect? I collect mainly comic books. I stopped with the sports cards a long time ago. I'm pretty much solely collecting comic books right now. I've got, a couple toys and a statue and some omnibus and a bunch of trade paperbacks and, kind of a small Blu-ray collection and some video games as well. But I don't really consider any of those other things a true collection, as far as in comparison to what I have on the comic book side or the sports card side. So I think that pretty much covers what I collect. When do I collect? So when do I collect? I feel like these days I'm collecting all the time. I mean, I love collecting at Comic Cons. When I know I'm going to be going to a con, I kind of set aside a fund specifically for that, because I know it's coming up, and I kind of save specifically for that, so that I can, do a lot of damage, if you will. But, I'll be going to, LCSs, maybe not every week, but probably every other week at the very least. And so that kind of covers when and where. So, all the time, because of course there's eBay, there's my comic shop, there's, Comic Link, Comic Connect, Metropolis. So I've got a lot of sort of online places, Midtown Comics. And for that one, that's both in person and online. So I've got a lot of places where I can collect and a lot of times to do it, especially, these days with your ability to get stuff online. So so the final piece of the puzzle of sort of, these core questions of how do I collect? So where and how are, I guess, closely related here, right? How you could answer that as in I shop online, or I go to physical stores, or I go to Comic Cons. But I'm going to choose to answer that in a way that is more directly correlated to the types of comics I collect outside of character. So I collect strategically in terms of keys and covers. Okay, so if you had to ask me how I collected comics, strategically I'm probably a key collector, a cover collector second, and then third I would say I'm a character collector based on the characters and stories that I like. So especially when it comes to covers, I really love collecting undervalued or underappreciated covers, especially if a well-known artist has anything to do with it, whether it's Neil Adams, Jack Kirby, or Alex Schomburg, or whomever. Those are some of my favorites. So I think that covers it, right? Who, what, when, where, how, and I kicked it off with why. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to show maybe a couple more books, a couple more stories that I love. You got Civil War, and one more, of course, and I have the omnibus for this as well, or the hardcover deluxe Watchmen #1. And that's gonna do it, guys. I probably made this a little too long-winded than I needed to be, but I wanted to be as honest and in depth with this video as I possibly could. I can't wait to check out some other people's videos for this contest. Support Reggie. He's a solid dude. And if you don't already follow him, again, please go over to his YouTube channel, check some stuff out, subscribe. And that's going to do it, guys. I hope everyone has a great day, and happy hunting. Keep collecting, and keep doing what you do. Collecting keeps me grounded. Thanks. Have a good one.